This is your weekend market review for Saturday, July 20th, 2024. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your weekend market review for Saturday, July 20th, 2024. Hopefully you had a great week. If you've been paying attention to the channel, watch some of the back to basics. You know about OPEX, CHOPEX, potentially OPEX, TOPEX, potentially as well. We've talked about that. We know the economy's slowing quickly. We know the Feds are in a pickle. We know that Trump doesn't want them to raise or cut rates. We know the market is always had, interest rate hikes have a 6 to 9 month lag time. We know the data is falling off a cliff. We know the jobs cuts are growing quickly. There's a lot going on. Now, does that mean the market has to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Guaranteed? No. Talk about that. But you need to trade this market. As we've talked about, do not get comfy, please. Do not get comfy being silly, trying to chase names. And if you're going long, short, and you're not sure, take your profits. I'm telling you, it's just so much simpler. I think people overthink this stuff. They get highly involved in over trading. And then what happens? They get stuck. So I don't want you to get stuck. Be careful out there. If you know you're in a potential position to make a mistake, tell me. The best thing you can do is be honest with yourself. And so I don't know. This is why risk management is by far the most important thing in trading. As we talk about defining your risk, knowing what your levels are, executing your plans, and sticking to your defined risk. If you're willing to lose $1, that's all you're willing to lose. If you are up 10, 15, 20, 100,000%, whatever it is, you got to roll up your stops at some point. The more you're up, the less you should own. So, new to the channel, check out the Discord room, links in the description below. Post a bunch of stuff on the Twitter, as always. Again, use the Calendly link if you want to chat. Available 7 days a week. Now, again, if you schedule something and I change my mind, meaning I change my schedule, it's okay. We'll figure something out. I try to make myself available for everybody. Again, check out the website, tradingagent.com. Make sure you subscribe for the updates and insights. I'm going to start using more of this newsletter for people that, if you put your contact information in there. Like I said, I would like to send you one. Again, I'll basically run through some of the trades I'm doing, how I'm thinking about them, and just kind of give a little more update. Because again, I don't think I've been using my email marketing as well. Not like marketing, but just, helping you guys out. Because again, sometimes I post in the Discord room. Well, not everyone's going to be on the Discord room. And not everybody's going to have the ability to check things out. And so sometimes sent an email might be more important, or not say more important, but just easier. So again, if you're on the YouTube or any other website watching this, or other social media, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it highly. All right, so as we've talked about, the question becomes in September, are we cutting once? Or are we cutting twice? That's kind of what the market's looking at, right? We're starting to see the odds creep up, right? 6%, 7%, that's something. Because again, months ago, we weren't even like, this is a lock. That's a lock, y'all. As I've said, if the Feds are cutting rates, is the economy really that strong? Because again, if they weren't, they'd likely go into this pause cycle for a year or two if they had to. But no, things are weakening. They know they got to get the rates down. Hence why, again, I think the best trade is going to be the TLT near term, or not near term, for the long. There's going to be a good spike in it. And again, you can short the market, say you don't like to short, but there will be, I think, again, a chase for safety. We'll talk about that trade. Bitcoin, big channel. Again, it's like gold, any of these names. I don't trust them until the Feds do the pivot and throw the liquidity. And as of right now, liquidity is coming out, margin calls, people getting stuck. Even hedge funds are starting to underperform. So if they have to start liquidating their positions, you know how it works. Oil, here you go, getting a little, we talked about demand destruction. It's a real thing. If you're going into a recession, here's your lower high. It's interesting, though, because you have higher lows and lower highs. Don't be surprised, again, by the volatility. Natural gas, as I've said, some people talk like buying it here. I'm like, could you? Yes. Someone's like, oh, it's an absolute long-term, absolute buy of the century here. I'm like, for like right now or long-term? Oh, right now. I'm like, no. Not in my opinion, I think you at least get down to 190s, maybe even fill the gap, get back to these 160s. Again, throw the baby out the bathwater. That's going to be the recurring theme that you talk about over the next couple weeks, months. The dollar, again, holding the 100-day. Economic data weakening, but the Feds, them talking about not tightening. Or not cutting, tightening, keeping interest rates stable, whatever you want to call it. As we talked about, the dollar is the floatiest turd in the toilet. Right now, it seems to be getting potential action because of other currencies. TLT started loading up here a little bit. got to half a position. I just told myself my discipline is I'm not an all or nothing trader with swing trading. Sometimes do I miss the bottoms? Yeah, but sometimes I get choppy stuff. Sometimes you get choppy at the high. Again, if we hit 92, I'll probably buy more UBT. It'll probably be somewhere near 19. I've been trying to build up a position between somewhere in the 19s. Hope that helps. Again, UBT, again, is the leveraged TLT, essentially. It should go gangbusters if, look at interest rates coming down. If interest rates start going down, I mean, I would take us 48 to 84. That's a COVID spike. Again, safe in my opinion. Safe, and it pays a dividend. Not too shabby. VIX, we've talked about it waking up. I said the gaps. I'm surprised that we didn't pull back more, but then look at the candle. It's a doji. So near term, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. On Monday, let me look at the seasonality. I don't think there's much coming into seasonality-wise other than you have earnings. You have earnings really starting to ramp up next week. You get some Dow names. You get some big names. I think you get Google. Ooh, who else do we got? We got a few other names. You definitely have a few names. Keep an eye on it, right? Just always know if you're trading a stock and it's going into earnings, don't be sitting there blind, thumb up your butt, pretending you're going to be safe. Talked about the VIX waking up first before the VIX. You're welcome. You're welcome. That gave you the sign. SPY again. I thought we would bounce a little bit on Friday. 20-day has been broken. 20-day has been broken. You had a 3-day range. Watched it fail. We talked about how the QQQ started lagging. Something is up, and it's not it's not it. When we talked about the professional gap, you see the pro gap. Now you got to be careful. Got to be careful here. And we talked about 20-day was coming. I said that last week, early in the week, and I mean we got below it, and I'm impressed. We actually took out the range lows. Next support would be somewhere in this gap. The gap, please mind the gap. Again, I'm just drawing all the levels where, again, you could get potential pops. Now, here's the thing. Look at this boo move. It is freaking huge. Do we do a head and shoulders top where the 20-day becomes next to the right shoulder, or are we just cooked? That's a question only you know how to answer. And the best answer to do it is risk management. Hit me up if you have questions. IWM, we talked about the biggest performing moves against the S&P 500 comparatively. Oops. Then we said Doji, watch out. I know people shorting this. And again, could you retest? Absolutely. Could this thing just absolutely get crushed? Yeah. So it's kind of a good risk reward if you trade half of it, take half off at the 8-10 day, and then see what happens. And if it just goes right back down to 1-200, you're good. And if it bounces, you can use it to add more. Short, in my opinion. Dia said, watch this candle looking a little ugly. Outside reversal candle. Makes a new high. Wicks and then gives it all up. Takes out the previous candle. That is an outside reversal candle. Ten cuidado. Gold. Again, everybody's like, oh, you're an idiot. You just missed the move. You stupid, stupid, stupid person. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about with gold. Here it comes. Comes right back in. Again, I told you guys, silver didn't make sense to me. Because again, if metals are going to go, silver ain't going to be acting like the redheaded stepchild. I don't know. Just drawing to fun. That's the thing, right? Silver should be going bang gangbusters, and it's not. We talked about the miners leading up. Was it a trap? I asked this question, said, you tell me. Uh-oh. Again, I'm all about the miners long term, but I am not chasing them up here. Absolutely not. And again, if I miss something, great. It happens, but I will get them later. AEM, we talked about this one holding up pretty well. AG, talked about this one not holding up well, making no sense near the lows. We talked about Newmont breaking out over 43. Raise your stops now, because again, if this is a trap, it could come right back. Again, I think it's worth, it should be $70, $80 a share. I think no one would disagree with that. But again, they throw the baby out with the bathwater pass. I like this long term. I've told you guys that. Taiwan Semi had earnings on Thursday. Look at this. I said, you got to be high out of your mind to be buying it up here. There's all risk, no reward. Now the 50-day, watch out. Micron, we said once the 150-day breaks, it's over. Oops, man. I mean, some of these names, people don't realize, like, these moves have been paramountly big. I don't know. You can just, these things are huge moves. So don't be surprised when there's a lot of people who chased and got stuck and have to unload. And so don't be surprised by, again, when you draw the levels, you look at the gap, you go, all right, well, it makes sense if you got back down to this 105 area, right? Would that? No, of course, it wouldn't make a big deal. I mean, AMD, again, this is what's crazy. Traps. Like, breaks out, We're like, okay, well, watch what happens up here. This is why we draw the levels. You're welcome. And now you give it all right back, and you're back at the 200-day going into earnings. Questionable. NVIDIA, as again, I said this is the easiest short in the world. No, okay, no. Okay, well, here you go. Watch the 50-day, right? Watch the 50-day. Talked about this being the blowout. Lower highs. The 50-day, again, we said 20-day was first. Well, you got below it. Then the 20-day, failure. I don't know why you wouldn't come back into this 100 area. Like pronto. Great trade if you short it. SMCI. Check this out, right? Chopping around. Big channel. Again, I like this. I know they have earnings coming up, so it's a crapshoot. Not going to be going crazy on it, but I think this one has potential. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Intel, we talked about this. Once it got over the 50-day, had upside. Well, again, baby out with the bathwater. Maybe you like Intel. I don't know. Whatever. There you go. That's why you got to be careful. This is why, again, you have to, pick your names and pick them well. SMH. Check it out, right? Gaps down, double top, 50-day breaks. Adios, amigos. Adobe. Right? Chopping around, 20-day. I mean, again, I like this one for short, but I'd love to see the 580s. Apple will have earnings probably next week. We talked about the blow off top. We talked about the island floating reversal. Now, you can't, in my opinion, you really can't short it and chase it other than day trading. I would be curious to see how it holds up into earnings. And if, again, tech gets wrecked, this is why the best risk reward is trying to identify range highs and then trade them. Amazon, here you go, into Prime Day, 100-day, man, holding on. So far, I mean, I would say it held-ish, just worth a watch. Meta, again, we talked about bull trap, coming back down to range where the gap is, bouncy bounce. I mean, I think you can watch the 50, 100-day. But again, coming in earnings, be careful. CRM, again, if you have shorts, you might want to buy some calls during earnings, just a hedge. CRM, here you go. We talked about the top and tail. Google had been just flying high, and then all of a sudden starting to break. 50 days potentially gone. We'll see. Microsoft, again, we get the CrowdStrike. Gaps down. Here you go. Chop top, holding, bouncing at first support. Again, all of these names aren't technically broken yet, but they're not looking great. NDAQ, again, love the short up here in the 63 plus range. You're welcome. MicroStrategy, again, Bitcoin bounces. All right, they're doing a big split, 12 for 1, right? Going into earnings. I mean, we said watch these levels. I mean, again, I didn't think we'd bounce this strong on Friday, but hey, that is what it is. I mean, again, be careful though. Just trade them, please. I mean, we see $100, $200, $300 point moves pretty quickly. Trade around it. Netflix, look at this earnings action. Ugh. 100-day is key. 100-day, and if not, you're coming back to the 200-day gap area, in my opinion. Roblox, as we talked about, holding up, chopping around. Just keep an eye on it. 8, 10-day breaks. PanW, here you go. We talked about this like cybersecurity name. I like this name. It's not CrowdStrike. Watching these levels today, I mean, interesting day. Again, I want to see a pullback. Pelosi is buying the shiznit out of it. So you should you. Tesla, we said, chop top, coming back into the range highs. Be careful. It was a great trade if you bought the bottom. Probably like a head and shoulders bottom look. Once you got over the 100-day, you pull back and then and said, again, quick moves up. Get met with sellers. And worst case scenario, it's going to chop around. Insight, again, put this in your portfolio and just disappear. It's a good stock, but don't chase it now. I think long term, it's going to get bought out. Same story. McDonald's, as we talked about, popping up. Here we go. Watch the 50-day, chop around. DKNG, chop, holding this area again, in my opinion. I think it's just a matter of time before it breaks. You got some gaps down here in the 30 area. Airbnb Bizzle, 200-day, speaking of, chopping around. Earnings, again, a lot of these have earnings, so don't get crazy with them, right? Costco, chopping. Starbucks, oh, look at this Friday action, right? We talked about it potentially could be double bottoming, near term, oversold. There you go, congrats. I mean, if you nailed that one, again, I'm not really looking for longs, but it made sense. Like after a big move, chopping around, double bottom, could it bounce? Yeah. Just, again, see if it follows through. That's the key with these names, if it's really going to follow through. FedEx, been holding up pretty well. Caterpillar, meow. Said watch yesterday's cattail. Again, they have earnings coming up, so it's hard. Nucor has earnings on, was it Monday? So chopping around. Talked about a short squeeze. Now it's just chopping. X, again, we like X long term, waiting for it to pull back. I think they get bought out. VALE, again, I like this name. VALE should be doing well. not so much, right? And these names, these global growth names, some of them look like absolute crap. But again, that's the thing. Let them pull back. Gifts. Arrow, we like Junior Copper. Like that failure. CCJ again. I've warned folks, I hate when Goldman Sachs is upgrading the highs. Again, let it pull back. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. 200-day holds, great. If not, ag names, we talked about them bouncing. But guess what? Market's starting to pull back. In my opinion, again, these are names, long-term, great. Just, I mean, they all had the nice bounce. If you played them, leave a comment below. If not, again, just be patient. XLF, trap. That's all I can say with that, right? Trap in my mind. And this is the thing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you messed up, you lose. I'm like, dude, I lose. Again, I lose 2 to 3 out of 10 times every time. Like, in general, it's my odds, 70%, 75, 80. Trap. But I'm like, you got to be crazy to be buying these names. Like, again, Jamie Dimon's like, I'm not buying my stock back. Why are you? Morgan Stanley, look at these pops. Giving them up. Bank of America, I mean, looking good. Right? Watch it. Watch it. These, again, novice gap. Big candle at the highs. Like, again, flip that over and that was red. You might think it was a bottom. Goldman Sachs. Again, we talked about this. If you got your Marcus account, you're good. Carry, we talked about this. Again, here we go. Talking about popping. Once it got over, the IWM, getting into the no doubt fail zone. There's some gaps up here. I mean, we got close enough. We filled them. Yep, we filled the gaps. Straight line moves. I mean, to me, that makes sense. It's pain. XBI, here's another trade. You could have gone long over 93. Said, watch what happens. You get up in the 100 plus. All right, that's why you're trading quickly. This one, to me, is hilarious. XHB Housing, look at this. Ooh. Ideal short. Trap. If it fails, I mean, you could have a monster there. Solar. Talked about any real bounce. These have been shorts. They're down closer to the range low, so it's really hard to really do too much. And you have earnings on some of these names, like EMPH. I think it's coming up this week. Maybe it's next week, but I don't know. These things, in my opinion, are heading south. Again, if Trump's leading, I don't think solar has a chance. Then you run into First Solar. Here you go, right? Chop, 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 chop. HYG, I said, you got to be high to be buying corporate debt. Okay, we'll see what happens. They're at the inflection point, right? Oil got beaten on Friday. Again, not surprised. Like natural gas, again, I don't like natural gas right now. Again, I like it long-term disappear. I hate the UNG. I like the KOLD short. I've told you guys that. I like it. I like it. I like it. Now, if you get some action up here, great, man. Somewhere in these areas makes sense. XOP, again, oil and gas names. Solid, right? Solid, but 100-day failing. Sorry. CVE, as we talked about, look at this. I mean, this is a name I like for the long-term future, but you have to remember, some of these names have had some, like, are in big consolidation patterns. And honestly, when they break out, go. If they don't, just wait. Valero, again, been pulling back. These gasoline names have been kind of chop, chop, fizz, fizz. ExxonMobil, sorry, people are like, you're going fast. I'm like, there's nothing really to say here. ExxonMobil looks like it's going to break out. Gave it back. Occidental, again, I think this is a monster chop range. As we talked about, the Buffett does what Buffett does, which is sell covered calls, sell covered probably puts if you had to. EQT, again, another big chop range. I love these names. Let them play out. Last but not least, Flex LNG, a big sloppy chop range. I think we'll be natural gas exporters. So again, if you're trying to sell a house in this market, please reach out. Again, do not go with some crappy agent that's just going to throw your house on the MLS and hope and pray. Again, if you're looking to buy, again, you need a strategy. Get pre-approved with a good lender so that you know your rate, what you can afford. And if you're looking to invest in real estate, hot damn, this is where you start plugging. You start looking for ideas. You start thinking about it. You start putting together your plan and who you're going to, like, what's the rental amount that you're going to get for that property? Or maybe you're going to move and turn your current property into a rental. Smart idea. If you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to reach out. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Talk to you soon.